A lot more went on in this chapter than I thought honestly was gonna happen by a lot. Like I figured that we would just have them going to the satellite and then kind of going into the server, and then a somewhat of like internal thing was going to be a problem. Like there was going to be a cyber boss that they had to defeat, kind of like going into like a digitalis kind of like scenario. But that was just super weird at the end. I don't think anybody expected that. That just came out of entirely nowhere, and that was probably, in my opinion, the most shocking thing that happened. But probably my least favorite thing that happened, because there was two other things that happened during this chapter, and I wanted to just look at each of them and go over what exactly is my favorite out of them. My favorite, though, being this one. This one is by far my favorite part of this chapter. Is with Rebecca's power, Mishima needs to be careful because she has time manipulation abilities to the point where she can reverse time, and in a scenario where, as we saw, she was close to dying, reverse time in order to help her beat Brittany. And it's a very dangerous thing when you give a character the ability to reverse time, because like any way of like changing the past is a dangerous kind of like thing to have in the story, because it's very easy to mess something up by having a time travel based series, or even having a time travel based point in the story. Mishima, though, in this chapter like shows to me that a good example of somebody who knows how to use time travel in a series, because he has his own system always planned out, and kind of his own power structure centered around it, of things that happen if you abuse this power. Like if you've read Rave Master, his original series, like the whole time travel thing is a very important aspect of the story. As well as in Fairy Tail, there is a sort of time travel-ish part in the story, and in both cases there are consequences to these things happening. And here with Rebecca, whose power already has a degree of time manipulation to it, like going back in time and reversing something, she now like has shown here that if she uses it too much, if she abuses it, it can, figuratively from what we see here, destroy her, I would assume. Because the way that I see it, it's like she's like damaging time, and if she did it too much, she might like kind of temporally erase herself, because it would be, from what I would kind of guess, so much strain on time, because she would be the point in kind of like the timeline that things are getting altered, because she's the one that's doing it. So she as like the focal point, essentially, if you kind of like think about time and the way that it flows, it would probably do a lot of damage on her. So if this is like the big balance thing that Mishima is putting up, it's a good example, like I said, of somebody who knows what they're doing when it comes to having time travel in a series, because he makes sure that that it's established in a way that can't be abused. Because there's, like I said, there's a point, if you introduce time travel, then it's like, why don't you just use time travel to fix every problem? That's something that it's like in Dragon Ball, it'd be like, why don't you just have time travel every single time something big and bad happens, you have somebody go back in time and warn them of the threat. And so like, you'd always be prepared, because it's something that would be logically easily established, or to a degree they would eventually have. But it also creates a problem, but like if they ever get to this point where time travel exists, like everything beyond that is at peaceful, so it limits their story. It's really complicated. Again, it could break a story if you implement time travel problematically, like like very unprepared. And Mishima just again showing that he thought way ahead of this. And again, I really like that. That's my favorite part of this whole chapter. Next, obviously, the new bad guys. Those guys are cool looking. I really like this, but like I said, the chapter starts out. I did really like the interaction that we had with Pino and Rebecca, and I genuinely really like that Rebecca does test her powers here. She tests her ether gear because again, it's her power isn't speed like she's running really fast. It's not as plain as just running really fast as the power. She has time manipulation. She's manipulating herself with time so that she's running really fast. She's essentially accelerating her own self and then just moving that way. It's really cool. It's like how Julius moves in Black Clover. Like it's just like a very intelligent time manipulating ability wise way to like implement a movement speed ability. I really like that. I always really like it when characters have like a unique way that they move around. And it's cool that Mishima has this for Rebecca because I don't think that she's gonna be too broken with her time manipulation. I think that though her general speed is gonna be a very heavy factor, and her guns too. So I'm guessing that she's not gonna get too busted when it comes to how she fights. Her ability is probably more used in like a tricky way because Mishima does, though, need to be careful on just, like, how fast he lets her grow. That's the only thing left. Because he just has to make sure she doesn't get too broken to the point where there can't be any danger. But I like I said at the start of this, and I've been saying, it's clear that he has thought ahead, so I'm sure that it'll be fine. But it was really cool to see Rebecca test her abilities. I thought that was really cool. And then, you know, the reveal here of showing that there is a limit that she can to use it in a period of time, as well as a limit of how far back she can go. And she even like puts a boundary, like it makes a complete difference between the version that she used, like when she traveled, what was it, like a week back with Drac and Joe, versus what she can do on her own, because it's completely different in probably the techniques. Like, I'm wondering, like, exactly what the end, like, when we get way further in, the explanations of, like, how each of her powers work when she figures out, like, fully how to use her ability. Because Mishima is the one, clearly, that knows. It's just, when we get, like, way to the end, like, how is it all gonna work? That is gonna be really cool to see the full explanations. Because Rebecca finding out, like, this chapter, her, like, experimenting with her powers and then just explain it to us, because she's the one that's learning. Everybody else, for the most part, has a pretty fair grasp with their ether gear. There's still room to grow, but Rebecca's the only one that doesn't really have much just experience using it. So it's really cool to see her developing it here. And that was one of the things with Rebecca that a lot of the fans were a little bit disappointed with, was we really wanted to, like, know how you get ether gear, like how exactly the initial way to, like, construct ether lines on your body is. But I like that we're still getting somebody learning essentially how to use their ether gear still from her. So that's still, like, a big plus, because the learning of ether gear itself is still something we're getting. But we're just missing, like, a part. I really am hoping that we could get, like, another character describing like the steps of obtaining an ether gear, just because it's one of those things in just the process I think a lot of people really want to know. And it's not like Fairy Tail. Like in Fairy Tail, the whole idea for the that makes it different than you know, something like Black Clover is Black Clover. You're like, you are born with magic, and then you get your grimoire, and then, like, but you still have your magic from birth. It's like a set one that you have when you're born. Whereas in Fairy Tail, you have raw magic, and then you can learn other magics. So the whole idea is you essentially all are born with this. Well, not all, because like, was it like 10% of people usually have magic? So there are still people born with this raw energy in their body, and then they kind of just have to figure out how to apply it to a specific style. So there's already, like, an idea how to do it just from, like, the base idea of how magic works. Ether Gear is still a little bit odd. I do really hope that Mishima explores a little bit more about obtaining Ether Gear. But again, I do really like we're still having through Rebecca the steps of somebody experimenting with their powers and figuring out what their ability is and how it all works. So that's really cool. I like that a lot with Rebecca. This was a really good chapter, I think, for her personally, for her character. So that was a thumbs up. Because like I said, the other stuff, there's clearly going to be some Hermit stuff coming up. And I like the new bad guys, so there's some clear, more further arc stuff coming up. And then Rebecca, though, for here, I thought this was really, really good. Because her fight, like, legitimately her fight, I didn't think was as interesting when it came to the fight itself. Like, Homora's I thought was really good, because Homora's, it was more about her whole new thing about how she wants to fulfill her role on, like, as one of the, like, the shining stars and honor the name Valkyrie. Because to her, it's not just having this title, she's also living up to the title that her master had, like the person she pretty much saw as her mother. So for her, it was really cool that she has this new personal goal of, like, again, obtaining strength and getting this road to power in honor of of someone. And then again, it's her own character goal. And I thought that was really good for, again, her personal character, like, again, her character sheet, just the story of her person. Whereas Rebecca's fight, it was cool to see her use her power, but it was just like, it wasn't as emotional and it wasn't as interesting as Homora's. But I thought this part was really good. I thought her experimenting with her powers was really good. So she is also coming out of this little opening with Nero's crew. This is a really good, strong part to kind of, again, open this whole arc. So, thumbs up with Mishima right now. He still has Wise to do, and that's obviously, I think, going to come up with Hermit and Dr. Mueller, of all damn people, coming back. And then I'm hoping we get something with Jin, because I don't think every single character, like, on the Eden Zero ship is going to get. I don't think we're going to get anything with Laguna. If we do, I'll be surprised. Like, I think, like, more with the Shining Stars themselves and Laguna, that'll probably come later. Hermit's the only one that I think right now we're going to get, because Mishima, I think, is going to tie Hermit to Wise. I really think he's going to do that, just gauged off of the picture that we had, and then, like, some of the previous interactions between Hermit and Wise that we've already had as well. And then plus, I think it would really make sense with what Mishima is doing with Wise's character, because the thing with Wise that we have so far is we know the old man Wise, and he's like this genius inventor, like, scientist dude. He's like this mastermind intelligent dude, whereas our Wise, he's not a genius. Like, he says that he uses his ether, he says he uses his power, like, by feel, so it's more of like the weird raw way to use your power and less of, like, just knowing every single step to do. It's kind of weird when you think about it, but it's more of he's using his power more on the side of just using the ability to manipulate the machines rather than the knowledge of what he's doing at, like, a technical standpoint. It's really weird when you think about it, just like, because Mishima has set it up so he has, like, the potential to become really smart, because that's the thing that Mishima has definitely put the pieces into play with him. Having this, like, everything that he's done so far is more on his just natural talent, whereas what he's going to be capable of when he gets to, like, the level of his older self's intelligence. It's a really cool road that the Mishima has put small pieces into play for him, and I think Hermit is going to be one of the really big things to get him there. Because the thing about Hermit is, even though Hermit is, the lowly of the team, she's still a lot older than all of them. Well, yeah, I think with Hermit, it's a little weird, because you can kind of technically say maybe she's not older than the old man Wise, but I'm super curious of the original like creation of the Shining Stars, of when they were forged. But then I guess we need to know when Ziggy was, because maybe like Old Man Wise was there when Ziggy originally started, because I guess we don't know how old Ziggy was when he originally was going, because as far as we know, like they were, you know, sometime not long after when you know, Shiki was somewhere around born, and Old Man Wise is way older. I don't know, this is kind of weird. I never really thought about the timeline where Old Man Wise fits into this. I actually need to think this over, but I want to move along with everything. But yeah, so Wise and Hermit I think is going to be a really cool duo further in the story, because the fact that she's a lot older in at least this version of Wise, I'll just stick with that so I don't go to another like rabble on. Anyway, I think she's gonna be like the road for him to get really smart and know more on the technical side on top of his own talent, so he gets just generally way smarter. I think that he's gonna become way more powerful based on the machines that he can create through just general interactions and experience with Hermit. So a very interesting pairing that Mishima is setting up, because I figured it was gonna be like him and Homora, because I thought it, like with Rebecca and Shiki and then you have Homora, I was like, oh well, then Homora's probably going to go to Wise. But I think Mishima's setting up Hermit and Wise. I don't know, I'm very curious, because Mishima just doesn't have pairings like this for no reason. He's doing something. That's one thing I know about Mishima. When he sets up somebody like this, he's going somewhere with it. But anyway, after like the whole stuff with Rebecca, I really liked just seeing the Homora and Shiki stuff. I thought it was just really nice of their interactions, of just going over like if they got to Mother, and Mother can only grant one wish, what would they do? And I think both of them were in that line of they wouldn't want the wish if that came down to it, because both of them just wanted to be with their friends and they're just enjoying the adventure. I like that a lot. I think that's a really cool thing about their crew that's been set up, is you essentially don't have much of that potential of fighting over the wish. And that's definitely like a strong sign of of just like a really well built team, like a unit. They don't have that potential greed there, because even the people that you think would kind of really want the wish, I don't think they would ever betray anybody like on the team. It's even like Laguna and Jin, as we've seen, they are inherently bad people. Like Laguna didn't know about the darker stuff that Drac and Joe is doing, and Jin was only doing darker stuff for his sister. So I think that both of them wouldn't like betray them for a wish. The only way that I think that could possibly happen is if they say, you know, Jin wants it to use the wish to fix his sister. But I feel like by then they're gonna be, you know, close enough that they'd probably all want that. They'd probably all want her to be, you know, back to a good state and not have this problem that she apparently has with her emotional state. So it's a really cool thing that I think Mishima had in this short little moment, and then them just kind of sensing like some strong people. And we now have Nero's Beast Legion Squad 1 unit. So I think this is really cool. I really like what he's doing here. So he's now going to have that he has different, essentially, each has different branches to his legion. And this one is the B Squad, and the one that we've seen, the one that we just like the characters just fought, were Squad 6, and this is Squad 1. So they're definitely gonna have to leave. I don't think that they're gonna be able to fight these guys. The only way that they're gonna, I think, be able to like confront these guys and not have to retreat is if Elsie or Justice steps in, because I think both of them should be able to beat these guys no problem. Like the main cast, no. Main cast, I don't think anybody could even 1v1 these guys, even at full power, except for maybe Witch. I think maybe Witch with Steel Sorceress could beat one of them, maybe, because so far out of the whole main cast, I think she's the strongest in a 1v1 with her battle dress. Just from what I would guess, because we don't know how long Shiki can stay in his overdrive, because that's the big thing that I think differs with Shiki in his power levels compared to somebody like Witch. Because if Shiki could stay in it like for a while and fight, I think maybe he could like 1v1 one of these guys, but the rest of the cast, no. Because for the rest of them, they all still had to like use their powers, like essentially everything that they had. They could still have those potential kind of limit break moments, but I feel like that's not the time now, because each of those fights would be a little long, and I feel like we've been on this planet for a bit. So I really think that they're gonna have to leave. Like I said, the only way that I think that they're not gonna just get defeated is if Elsie or Justice step in, because Elsie is one of the Arasteon States Galactica, so she should absolutely be able to destroy these guys in 1v1s, and it wouldn't surprise me if Elsie's like top guys, I'm trying to remember their names. I think it's Hyoga and Gawain. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they could probably beat these dudes too. Because my guess with how, this is just my guess on how Nero's whole unit works. I think he's got his whole army, like the totality of his army. I think he's got branches of each, like he's got his B squad, and then he's probably got like an elite group. And my guess is like his elite group like members are probably on the level of like Elsie's elite group members, like those two. But these guys, I'm guessing no. I bet that they can just defeat these guys with maybe middle difficulty at best. But the main cast, no, they're definitely gonna have to leave after what we just saw. Because like I said, those guys that we just had them all fight, like was it Brittany, Orc, and Mora, they had like each like a pretty fair fight. But absolutely, like they're after that, like they're pretty much down to low amounts of energy, like as we saw with Shiki, and just barely being able to walk for a bit. Well, his was more because he was, scared of bugs, but we saw that he was still on low energy as well as Homora. They can't have another fight right now. That these guys are definitely gonna have either get intercepted by bigger people or they're gonna have to leave. But the stuff with Mueller, I think, was really weird, just because it came out of nowhere. I really did like the interaction with Hermit and Wise when they're talking about like, oh, you're not gonna get corrupted by this virus, are you? And she pretends like that she's corrupted and like bites him and like says that she wants his blood, and she's just playing. She's a very odd character. I really like Hermit. The funny thing like with Mishima is, even when people like try and compare like a character that he's done before and say like, oh, it looks slightly similar to like a different character, so it must be the exact same character. And then even if you like say like, oh, these things are look slightly similar, none of them like these characters ever act and have the personality of like the same character. They're all very different. And again, like Hermit, even if you wanted to try and compare any character Mishima's made before with Hermit's definitely like very different on a personality level. She's got a very different story too. But I did really like the interaction with her and Wise. It just kind of shows her playfulness, and it really builds like a strong reflection on like how she was before and what happened to her, and then how she is now, and then going into this scene. I think Mishima played this really well, because in that same moment you got like something that showed how she was fixed and how she kind of got back to her former self, and you're at the same time again you're reminded of, oh yeah, how she was before, and then Again, more interactions with her and Wise, and then you have Dr. Mueller show up. So then you integrate a character from the darker part of her backstory. I think Mishima just did a really good play here in the placement of this character, because it really does like a really quick round circle into Hermit's character and like her story so far into this guy. So I really look forward to this guy getting destroyed. Like, I don't think anybody likes him. Nobody likes this guy. He's definitely just built in a quick set of the series as one of those characters you're supposed to hate, and Mishima can do that really well. So I'm hoping we see another one of those kind of darker moments with Wise, because we've seen Wise is fully fine like killing somebody, and this is the time Mishima for him to do it. Yoshiki is not here to stop him. Please get him in a position and have Wise pull the trigger, or at least have this guy just blow up in a scene somehow. I'm just looking forward to having this guy destroyed, essentially. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, tell me your thoughts around this chapter. Again, my favorite part is still that he, like, Mishima very swiftly after the fight chapter established a limit on Rebecca's power. I thought that was a great move. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I think messed up my outro. I thank everybody who's already subscribed, and thank y'all for listening.